Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the woolneedleshands Knitting Podcast. This is a podcast primarily about knitting, but from time to time we do get up to other fibery topics here and there. My name is Taylor, and I am your host. I am coming to you from Henderson, Nevada. That's where I'm from and where I live with my husband Brandon, our 2-year-old son. Actually, he's going to be 3 so soon in February. Our son Angus and our big fat house cat Oscar, and we are expecting our new addition to the family at the end of March. It's going to be a little boy, so we're really excited about that. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back time and time again every time I upload to see what's going on over at the Wool Needles Hands podcast. It is so nice to see this community that we have here growing. It's growing so much every day, and in the last few episodes that have been uploaded, it's grown a huge amount, and I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful that you guys are all a part of this with me. You can find me on Instagram. I am at woolneedleshands. I am also at fiber.for.the.people, which is the Instagram account linked to my business. It's a hand-dyed yarn business, Fiber for the People. You can also find my hand-dyed yarn shop, which is fiberforthepeopleYarn.com. We are having an update on Tuesday, December 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so don't forget to mark your calendars. Definitely check that out. Head over to the website, which is again fiberforthepeopleYarn.com. Sign up for the newsletter so you can stay up to date on all of the things that are going to be going into that shop. Plus, I do send out promotions from time to time. If you want to get in touch with me, the best way to do that would be via email. You can get in touch with me at woolneedleshands@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with me on Ravelry. We do have a Ravelry group connected to the Wool Needles Hands podcast. Just go to the groups tab and search Wool Needles Hands, a knitting podcast. You can join over there. We are almost 800 members strong, which is amazing. You can get involved in the conversation, some of the knit-alongs that are going on. You can also just send me a direct message on Ravelry if you have any questions regarding the show or a pattern or anything that you see here. Just get in touch with me through there, or again through the email address woolneedleshands@gmail.com. Like I mentioned before, there is a Fiber for the People shop update on Tuesday, and I don't want you to forget, if you are going to be shopping and you are a Wool Needles Hands podcast viewer, don't forget to use the code WNHLOVE to receive 10% off your purchase. That goes for all Wool Needles Hands viewers, WNHLOVE, and you can get 10% off your purchase. And just put that code into the promo code box at checkout. We have some KALs going on right now. We have a KAL that started back in September, which is the I Knit Sweaters KAL. You can actually use that hashtag on Instagram should you decide to post your progress. It is hashtag I Knit Sweaters KAL. This KAL is pretty much just that, just knitting sweaters, plain and simple. If you're interested in getting involved in knitting a sweater, head over to Ravelry, check out the chatter thread, check out the finished object thread because it's super inspiring, the things that you guys are doing over there, and then get involved. You have some time. If you're a fast knitter, maybe you can knock out a sweater by January 1st, or at least just get started, see how far you can get by January 1st. I will be selecting winners out of the finished objects from the finished object thread on January 1st, and I'll be announcing those winners in the following episode of the podcast, whichever episode follows January 1st. The prize for this knit-along has yet to be determined. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing for the prize for this yet, but I do know it is going to include a couple of skeins of Fiber for the People yarn and maybe some other goodies that I have stashed away that have been donated to the show from various different people that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So it is going to be a really great prize. The next knit-along that we have going on is the Fire Pit Mitts KAL. The Fire Pit Mitts is a knitting pattern that I just recently released over at fiberforthepeopleYarn.com. You can also download the pattern directly from Ravelry. Just search Fire Pit Mitts in the pattern search box. This is a knit-along where we are simply just knitting a pair or many pairs of Fire Pit Mitts to celebrate the release of the pattern. I actually, in preparation for releasing the pattern, I knit three pairs of Fire Pit Mitts. These are them right here. I have a version right here, which is the shorter, larger version. And then I have 2 longer versions that I knit. This one was knit out of Fiber for the People yarn in the O Merino worsted base. This is the English Toffee colorway, and this colorway will be returning to the shop on Tuesday. If you would like to get involved in the knit-along and you love this color, which I do, I love this so much, and this yarn is absolutely scrumptious. I talk all about it in the previous episode of the podcast, but you guys, this yarn is delicious. It is a 100% non-superwash merino wool, and it is a worsted weight yarn and it's beautiful. I also knit a pair of the fire pit mitts previously in Fisherman's Wool by Lion Brand, which is one of my favorite store-bought yarns. I love this yarn so much, it's delicious. This is that pair right here. This is another long tapered version of those. If you are interested in seeing more about this, head over to my Instagram page. I've talked or posted pictures about these. I've also talked a lot about these in the last 3 episodes of the podcast, last 3 episodes of the podcast. So if you haven't checked out those, head over. I talk about them in the beginning of the episode if you want to just watch that portion, or you can watch the whole episode because I do talk about them throughout, but they're amazing. They fly off the needles. They're a super relaxing, fun knit. They have a really cool, if you're knitting the long version, they have a really nice shape going on here. There's a little bit of a taper that goes on here, so there's some fun shaping that happens that really makes it fit your arm nicely. I'm not going to go into too much detail about these because I have gone into a lot of detail about these in previous episodes, but I definitely want to urge you to check out the pattern. It's a free download on Ravelry. It is a free download at fiberforthepeopleYarn.com. It's really a great pattern, super fun to knit. I have yet to cast on my pair for the knit along, but I have been so excited seeing all of the progress that people are making. I mean, there's so many people that have already finished a few pairs, and we just started this on the 12th as a knit along. So I'm just gonna let the knit along run until after Christmas, and then I will put a stop to it and we'll see everything that you guys have created. But I'm telling you, that's plenty of time to knit at least 2 pairs of these if you really want to. So definitely get involved because it's just a great last minute gift knit, fun holiday knit. It's relaxing, it's mindless, and you really get a cool, accessory when you're finished. So that is the Fire Pit Mitts, and that is for the Fire Pit Mitts knit along, which is going on right now. It started December 12th. You can cast on whatever you want. I think I'm going to extend it all the way to December 30th. And then we'll stop it there, and then we'll stop the I Knit Sweaters KAL on January 1st. So unless we just decide to take this to January 1st and you guys can knit as many as you want, maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll stop both knit alongs on January 1st. It's easier for me to remember. That's probably going to be how it works out anyway. So let's just do that. Let's say that both knit alongs going on right now here at the woolneedleshands Knitting Podcast, they will both be ending on January 1st. Again, to win a prize for the Fire Pit Mitts KAL, you have to knit a pair of Fire Pit Mitts, submit your finished object by January 1st. You get a bonus entry if you use Fiber for the People yarn. You still have plenty of time to order yarn in the next shop update to knit these with. It will get to you in time for the deadline, plenty of time for the deadline. You can knit a couple pairs still. Even if you choose not to use Fiber for the People yarn, that's totally fine. This is a great stash busting pattern. So if you would like to use your own yarn, that's fine. You can still submit your finished project and that enters you for the prize. However many of these you knit, you get an entry for the prize, and then again, it's a bonus if you use Fiber for the People yarn. So that's pretty much how it works. It's a lot of fun. Head over there to the Ravelry chatter thread to see what all the fuss is about, and then I am going to include here at the end of this segment a quick clip that shows some of the finished objects that are already in the Ravelry group right now for not only the I Knit Sweaters KAL, but for the Fire Pit Mitts KAL as well. So something to get you guys inspired. So excited to share with you guys what's going on in my cup right now because it is probably my most favorite dessert tea. I have a number 1 tea whose seat I don't think is ever going to be hijacked, honestly, but this is absolutely delicious, so I want to share this with you guys. It is by Tazo. I have the box here because the box, what you see on the box is really what you taste in the cup. It's really pretty amazing. It's by Tazo. It's part of their Dessert Delights line, and it is called Glazed Lemon Loaf. So do you see this? Do you see that lemon loaf? Now I love lemon. I love lemon in savory dishes. I love lemon in desserts, and glazed lemon loaves, if you've ever had that before, I mean, they're delectable, absolutely delicious. I saw this at Target. That's where I found this. I found it at Target and at Sprouts, which is a natural food store in my neighborhood. It's delicious. It's caffeine free. It is an enticing herbal infusion with notes of bright lemon and creamy vanilla. And that's like, I feel like that's an understatement. You definitely get the creamy vanilla, you get the lemon. It's like I'm drinking a glazed lemon loaf. I mean, it's so good. And I really hope that I'm not maybe over emphasizing how delicious this is, but I love it. I love it so much. It's actually really great when you're having that sweet tooth moment where you would like to have something sweet as a dessert, but you want to stay away from the sweets or whatever, you're watching your sweets intake. This definitely satisfies that. I put a little bit of Splenda in there and that's it, and it's so yummy. And it's not a sweetened tea. There are herbal teas that are sweetened, and this is not that. This is just like it says, it's got that like herbally infusion of various different herbs and lemon, and then it has vanilla, and I think that vanilla adds a sweetness. But otherwise, oh, you guys, it's so good. It's delicious. So definitely get your hands on some of that. If you ordered something recently from Fiber for the People, you may actually have a bag of this in your order, because I had 2 bags of this amongst other teas that I send out that I emptied to send out to people who made orders. So you might be getting some of this to try. Let me know if you love it, or let me know if you hate it too, because I think it's one of those things that there are people out there that don't like sweet tea. And if you don't like sweet teas, this definitely isn't for you. It's a sweet dessert tea. So if you're into spicy teas or you're just your basic black tea, this might not be for you so much. But me, I definitely like a tea that's not too bitter, that's spicy, and I like spicy teas, I like sweet teas. Those are my preference. I'm not really a big black tea drinker. I like chai, but English breakfast and Earl Grey teas are a little bit too bitter for me. I don't know, I guess I'm kind of a baby. But I love coffee, so that's strange. But anyway, definitely check it out. It's delicious. It is by Tazo. It's called Glazed Lemon Loaf, and you can get it at Target. That's going to probably be your best bet. So yeah, definitely. Oh, and right now I am drinking it in one of my favorite coffee cups. This is a coffee cup that I received at a cookie exchange. It's a cookie exchange, if you've ever heard of that before. It's just like a little gathering that you go to and people exchange baked cookies and coffee mugs. It's kind of like a white elephant type situation where you bake a plate of cookies and you take a coffee mug, and then everybody kind of passes around. Some people will receive a particular tray of cookies and a coffee mug, and they have the choice to trade it later on down the line. I don't know, it's so confusing. I never quite understand how white elephants work, but that's where I received this. It's one of my favorite mugs. I believe it's from Pottery Barn. Yeah, it's from Pottery Barn. And I think the reason I love this so much, and I'm very particular about coffee mugs, is that it allows me to hold it without my hand getting all squished in the handle. I feel like sometimes coffee mugs are really tight on the hand, and this one works out really nicely. So that is my Peace on Earth holiday coffee mug that I use all throughout the year, regardless of what time of year it is. So. So in the seaside town of Herne Bay in Kent, United Kingdom, there is a group of crafters who have been knitting little, and I think crocheting as well, little Christmas scenes to use as toppers for post boxes in that area. They call themselves the Cozy Crew, and they have a variety of Christmassy scenes that they have been knitting and crocheting and affixing them in some way to the tops of those cool red post boxes that you see in British towns that you don't really see here in the United States. Ours are just these, robot looking blue post office boxes. But these are so cute because the post boxes themselves are really cute to look at because they're red and they almost look like what you would see as a fire hydrant here, but taller. They're a post box, whatever. But on top of the post box, these people have adorned them with little Christmas scenes that are knit and crocheted. And so I wanted to share that with you guys because I think it's really cool when you see things like this. I know not everybody celebrates Christmas, but it's the idea of these people reaching out to do something festive and lighthearted and happy for their community. And if they can bring crafting into that in some way, I think that's really, really cool. So it puts a smile on people's faces. It reinforces the whole idea of the festivity of this time of year. So I think it's really special. So I'm going to put together a little montage for you guys to see some of these post boxes that are being displayed in Herne Bay, Kent, United Kingdom. So there are 31 decorated post boxes in all, and they were done by 26 members. And I believe that there is some kind of a trail map that you can follow to see all 31 of the post boxes. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but they said that once you go to the first one, there's some kind of a trail map there that tells you how to get to all of the other ones, and you can follow it almost like you would go on a Christmas lights walk during the evening time. This would be something you could do during the daytime to see some festive craft installments in that area. So I just thought that was really cool, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So I have a tip for you guys today from my dyeing studio. So I want you to come with me into the dyeing studio. I'm going to share with you guys a quick tip for how to exhaust that last little bit of dye that might be lingering in your dye pot. Hey guys, welcome to the dyeing studio. I have a little tip for you guys today about how to exhaust that last little bit of dye that's in your dye pot. I like to use only enough acid that's necessary to cause motorcycle just went by, to get the dye to adhere to the yarn. I don't like to overdo it on the acid, and I try not to rely too much on acid for dye exhaustion. I like to rely more on heat, and then in the case of this tip, on the cooling process of the water. So some things that aren't really considered when it comes to exhausting dye in a dye bath is that the cooling down of that hot water will really help to exhaust that last remaining little bit of dye that's in your pot. No need to add more acid, no need to bring your water to a roaring boil, which is, you know, bad to do that anyway if you're working with a non-superwash. Not really the best, even if it's a superwash. So that's what I'm going to show you guys today. So right now I have two pots here that are steaming hot. I just took them from the heat, but what I want to show you guys is, if you look, I'm going to do this real fast. Okay. If you look down into the water, you can see, if the steam will go away, it's really kind of chilly outside today, you can see that the water is just tinged with that plum color. Let's give you guys a chance to defog. So the water is just tinted. You can see right here, it's just a tint of color. Now, and that's exactly where I want it. That's kind of my sweet spot when it comes to removing the dye bath from the heat, because I know that at this point, when the water is just tinted with color, if I take it off the heat and I let it sit at room temperature, or even if I take it outside when the weather is cold, that cooling process will cause the rest of the dye to suck into the yarn, and then I'll come out in about an hour and the water will be completely clear. So you just saw the water now in the dye bath. I've taken it off the heat. It's steaming hot still, so it has a long way to go. I'm gonna come back out in about an hour or so, and I'm gonna show you what the water looks like then. Next time, it's something you can try when you're trying to exhaust that last little bit of dye in your dye bath. Okay, so here's the pot, and I'm gonna move the yarn around a little bit, and you can see that the water is pretty much clear. That yellow tinge that you see in there really comes from, I don't know, it's kind of like the oil from the yarn and a little tiny bit of leftover dye, but it's such a tiny amount that it's pretty insignificant. So there you have it. So next time you need to exhaust that last little bit of dye and you don't want to have to add more acid, you don't want to have to keep the heat on for so long, take it off the heat, let it cool completely. This isn't completely cooled, but it has cooled significantly and the dye has almost exhausted completely. So if you need to exhaust that last little bit of dye and you don't want to keep the heat on for so long, you don't want to add any more acid, just let it cool down almost to room temperature and it will finish exhausting that last little bit of dye, as long as the water was only just tinted when you took it off the heat. If it's pretty still, it's opaque with dye, you definitely need to leave it on the heat a little bit longer. But if it's just tinted, all you gotta do is take it off the heat, let it cool to room temperature, and it'll exhaust that last little bit of dye for you. I have 2 faux today. I'm telling you guys, these last several episodes, like 3 episodes, I think I've had a finished object, or at least a half object in almost every episode for the last 3 episodes, and that's huge for me. I don't know what it is. I think my knitting mojo just got cranked up to high gear, and I have a feeling I know why that is, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I've finished so many things. I mean, stuff is just flying off my needles. I mean, between all 3 of the fire pit mitts that I've knit here, and I had 2 pairs of little slipper socks. I mean, you guys, I am on fire, and I have 2 to share with you guys today. The first one is actually on my head. I like to wear them if they're hats, because I love wearing knit hats. So this is actually my first finished object that I want to share with you guys today. This is an original design that I came up with for a hat that is heavily textured. I really wanted something that was heavily textured, slouchy, not really tight around the brim, because having short hair, wearing really tight brimmed hats or even snug brim hats is kind of a nuisance, because as soon as you take them off, like, you have to do something with your hair that involves getting it wet and then drying it again, because otherwise you have this like weird band of compressed hair around your head. It's just not fun. So I like hats that fit nice and loose around the head, and this actually worked out to be just perfect. So I kind of designed this out of, when I say I designed it out of necessity, I think that's a kind of a strong word, but out of the desire to have something exactly like this. I used Fiber for the People yarn. This is the O Merino worsted base. It's a new base that's in the shop. This is in the Fawn Over Me colorway, which is going to be coming to the shop on Tuesday. So you'll be able to get a skein of this if you are interested, because this pattern is going to be coming out soon. Probably, I would say, after the new year, because I do want to send out the pattern to some test knitters. I am, in the meantime, going to be working up the pattern for a smaller version, because I do think that I have a large head. So I know that there's people out there that would like it to fit similarly, but probably don't have the same size head as I do. So I'm going to work that into the pattern. But other than that, I'm really, really loving this. It has a really cool twisted, almost faux cable stitch going on right here. These aren't actually done with cable needles. It's just a particular stitch that I'm doing. The hat has some shaping, so it gets a little bit larger after the brim, after this 1x1 cuff that's going on up here. So it kind of gives it a nice slouchy shape. I don't know, I really, really love it. And then I also created a gathered kind of crown. So I decreased a lot of stitches at one time, and then when I cinched it together, it created a really pretty gathered crown, which you can see. I guess if I turn around, you can see it. I really love it. It's exactly what I wanted, and it made me really proud to be able to come up with a design, knit it up, to work out to be something that I wanted in yarn that I dyed myself. It's really empowering. Sounds maybe like over the top, but you can imagine what I'm saying. It made me really proud to finish it off and have it be a work of my own in my own yarn. So I'm really excited about this. This is going to be called the Sidewinder Slouch, and I named it that because the pattern of the stitch, or I guess I should say the stitch pattern, kind of resembles the Sidewinder snake tracks that you see in the desert sand in Death Valley. There's an area of Death Valley where Sidewinder snakes are really prevalent, and if you look out in the desert, you can see all of these little S-shape tracks that kind of fill that desert landscape. So it's really cool. So that's kind of what inspired me to name the hat the Sidewinder Slouch. But anyway, I will keep you updated on this pattern. Like I said, I'm going to get it test knit and then work up some additional changes to the pattern for sizes. I'm going to do that first and then have it test knit. And then I'll be ready to submit it, and this will be also featured on the Fiber for the People yarn website and on Ravelry as a download as well, so you can keep track of that. But In the meantime, I'm really excited to have it off my needles and on my head because I enjoy wearing it. I've worn it so much since it's come off the needles. The color, as I'm looking at it, it's that perfect warm camel color that I feel goes with lots of different things. It's a really classic color. Like I said, it's called Fawn Over Me, and it will be available in the shop. You guys, I just really love it. And I think you will too, because it's just that perfect textured slouchy hat. So anyway, it is finished and I'm really excited to have it finished. The next item that I'm going to show you is huge and I'm super excited to have it off my needles because I wanted to have it finished, but I'm telling you, it is not cold enough here for me to wear this, unless of course I'm out in the dead of night, you know, wearing a bikini. Perhaps it would be cold enough. This thing is just a monstrosity, but it's beautiful. So this is my Simplicity KAL. The cowl pattern came from Bromefields, which is a really excellent source for fun, a lot of really good chunky classic knitting patterns. Lots of classic lines, classic designs, easy stuff. If you're looking for something super easy and relaxing, that's a really good place to go. They have lots of great stuff. And so this cowl came from Bromefields. It's called the Simplicity Cowl. I knit this. I'm gonna actually slip it on so you can kind of see it in all its glory. So here it is. It is huge, folks. I knit this all in Wool in the Gang collection wool, and this is a super bulky 70% wool, 30% acrylic yarn that is being sold at Joann Fabrics exclusively, and it's put out by Wool in the Gang. And you guys, for a budget yarn, it's really beautiful. That 70-30 is a really nice compromise. The yarn is lovely. It was actually really nice to work with. It did shed a little bit because it's spun so loosely in a single ply, so it's not a very tight twist, so that does tend to cause it to shed a little bit. But since I've knit it and completed it, I haven't noticed it shed in the times that I have worn it. It's actually worked out really well. It's huge. I took some pictures to put up on Instagram to try to like show just how big it was, and it's glorious. Look at this thing, you guys. It's huge. Like I've said before, it can double as a sleeping bag. It can go over your shoulders, and I'm looking at the screen as my reference here, but it can go over my shoulders completely, and even when it's over my shoulders, like, look at this. Look at that. Perfect for like really building it up and squishing it and making it nice and lofty, giving it the layered look almost, kind of, I guess. I don't know what you would call that. You can even pull it up over your head, and it's still like over my shoulders and over my head, and you can have it as a hood. If you're wearing a really heavy coat, you can, you know, throw it on over the top of that. If you guys live in really cold climates where it's snowing right now or just wet and cold, this is ideal for you. And this yarn, I used 3 balls of the yarn. The yarn's $14.95. It's actually 25% off in Joann right now. That's a really great deal for something so luxurious as this. So I don't know. I'm really obsessed. I'm kind of disappointed that it's not cold enough for me to wear this outside, because if I were to go like to the store with my son to do some grocery shopping and threw this sucker on while I walked out the door, people would probably think I'm crazy. Like, crazy. Because I think during the day, I think the highs have been like 62. Next week the highs are going to be in the 50s, so it might be a little bit more acceptable, but it's nuts because it's just so huge and awesome. It's like I can't wear this unless I go, I don't know. It looks like something you would wear over like a really beautiful flannel coat in Aspen, Colorado on a ski trip. I think that's why I love it so much. But I can dream, right? So anyway, this is the Simplicity Cowl. I knit it in Wool in the Gang collection from Joann Fabrics. It's only sold at Joann Fabrics. You can get it online there as well. It's great yarn. I really love it, but I love the pattern. So if you have a need for an easy pattern that, you know, flies off the needles with some nice texture, something really fun to throw on if you're in a climate that's super cold, do it, guys, and knit this thing because it's fun to knit and you're really gonna love having it. I love big bulky cowls like this, and so this was just right up my alley. So that is my Simplicity Cowl by Bromefields and my Sidewinder Slouch by yours truly, and pattern is coming soon, so I'm super excited to share those faux with you guys. So I I do have some works in progress that I'm going to share with you guys. Some of these you haven't seen, and most of them you have seen, but I'm really excited to share this first one with you because you haven't seen it yet. And I was recently asked by somebody on Instagram, probably because that person saw me posting lots of things completely unrelated to babies, considering I am going to be having a baby in March, and they asked me if I was knitting any baby things. And it caused me to reflect internally about why I wasn't knitting any baby things. And I think what it is that I just don't enjoy knitting baby clothes. I have tried in the past. When I was pregnant with my first, I tried knitting this cute little jumper, not a jumper, not a sweater, a romper, and it just wasn't something I enjoyed doing. Like, I didn't get that warm and fuzzy feeling. However, when I did get that warm and fuzzy feeling with knitting baby things, it was when I was knitting washcloths and a baby hat. I was knitting him a little knit hat for when he was really little. But the washcloths, I loved knitting those because I knew they were going to be really, really functional. I have used hand knit washcloths before, plus those little face scrubbies that I talked to you guys about in a couple previous episodes ago. I love them. They're the best. Hand knit washcloths are absolutely hands down the best. Whether it's in the bathroom or in the kitchen, they're just the greatest. And so when I was knitting the little washcloths for Angus, when I was pregnant with him, I knit them in Lily sugar and cream cotton yarn in all different colors, and I loved seeing the little stack accumulate of washcloths. That definitely gave me the warm and fuzzy feeling. And then when he was born and I knit him his little hats, I really loved that. So I think what it is that I like knitting accessories and functional baby items. I just don't think that clothing for little babies is all that functional. I mean, it's cute, it's great for photos, but you guys, we know what babies do, and those kinds of things can get messy, and I just don't know if I want to spend my time doing that. And maybe that makes me, I don't know, cold-hearted, but that's just the way it is. That is one of my confessions, I guess. So anyway, that it made me reflect when I saw that question. And so I decided, well, you know what, I need to step it up because I am planning on knitting some washcloths, but I needed to knit a baby blanket. So I did find a really great pattern for a baby blanket, and I found some really sweet yarn at Joann for babies. It is the Bernat Softy Baby Cotton yarn. So I'm going to show that to you right now. But this is a pattern by Mindy Designs, and it's called the Robin Baby Blanket. Not exactly sure if that's, it must be a baby's name, perhaps. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. But this is what I have so far. So considering I just started this 3 days ago, this is pretty good. And I'll explain why this is pretty good in a second, because the pattern, there's parts of the pattern that are slow going. But anyway, here is what I have so far. And like I said, this is that Softy Baby by Bernat cotton yarn. And you guys, it's so nice. It's so soft. And really fun to work with, because unlike wool, when you're knitting with it, it lays flat. It doesn't curl in on itself, and so you can kind of like, once you finish a row, you can pull your needles out and look at it, and it lays nice and flat. You can get a good idea of the stitch pattern. I don't know, I just really love it, and it's very soft. It's so soft. This is the stitch pattern up close. It's a really pretty, let's see if I can get it to, it's a really beautiful stitch pattern. I don't know what it's called necessarily, but it's beautiful. I love the contrast of the ribbed edging and the stitch pattern. Yeah, it's really pretty. The color of the yarn and the softness of the yarn is what's really pulling me through this. That's what I love so much, is watching the color kind of become something more than just yarn, become a blanket. So I really enjoy that. Plus it's so soft to work with in my hands. I really love that. Here is the ball of yarn that I have. So this, like I said, is by Bernat. It's Softy Baby cotton yarn. Don't know what the colorway is called. I don't have the label on hand right now, but if you were to go to Joann, it would not be hard to find this. It's really beautiful. Not very expensive. I think one ball was $4.99, $5.99. So, I mean, it's not too bad. And Joann, you can always get coupons, so it's great. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this stitch pattern, because this is, I'm not having a love-hate relationship with this pattern by any means, but there are aspects of the pattern that I really wish I were able to work faster. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the stitch pattern that's used here. I'm not going to give you all the details about the pattern because it is a pay-for pattern, but I will say that it involves purling 2 together and knitting 2 together in the same 2 stitches. And it's not something that you can work really quickly because it gets kind of tight. And so when I'm doing that, it definitely slows me down. I feel like I have to trudge through it a little bit. But then you get a whole row of knitting after that, which is great. So you kind of work through, you know, the sticky parts so you can get to that one where you're just knitting and it kind of flies. That's like my only beef with this, and it's not really a beef with the pattern because the pattern's beautiful and it's really well written. So it's not that. It's more just my the technique that's used. I'm not the best at doing it so it's nice and loose and easy. I guess if I relaxed a little bit into the pattern, into the stitch pattern, it probably wouldn't be so cumbersome. But that's it. It just, you know, there's parts of it that are kind of slow. But other than that, I really think it's a beautiful pattern. And with the yarn and the color and the softness, I really love it. And it does give me that warm, fuzzy feeling because as it starts to grow, I imagine it as a full blanket. And then I imagine it with a little baby wrapped in it or laying underneath it. So it's special. So anyway, that is the Robin Baby Blanket by Mindy Designs. Here it is again. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. I'm knitting this on a new pair of Chiagu needles, my circulars here. I ordered these on Amazon because I wanted a lot. I have Chiagus that are for socks, but I don't have any that are for more DK weight, worsted weight projects, and so I wanted to order a set of these. So this is a size 7 Chiagu 40-inch cable needle, and we had this conversation in the last episode about needles, finding like the right needle for the right project and so on and so forth. And I was using a pair of, and I don't know how to pronounce it, so I think somebody told me how to pronounce it and then I've forgotten, but Leica needles. I apologize. Anyway, I'm using a pair of those for one of my projects and I really do love those, but I don't think that they're the one. You know, I don't think I've found the one with those. I love my Addies. I don't like Addie interchangeables, but I do love Addies. They're super fast. They're great. Sometimes they're a little too slippery, and so that's where the Chiagus kind of come in for me. The Chiagus kind of give you the amazing flexible cord. I'm telling you, when it comes to cord flexibility, I think they take the cake. Their cord is perfect. It's so malleable and flexible. It doesn't get kinks in it. It's really great. The finish of their needles is nice because it is slippery, but it's not too slippery because it does have a finish that can grip a little bit for those projects that you don't want the stitches just flying off your needle in the wrong way. So that's, I don't know, I'm really loving these. But I've just come to terms with the fact that there's a different set of needles for each project that you do, and that's kind of how it is with me. So I get to experience lots of different needles, and that makes me happy. It's kind of like skill building. Each project brings you something new. So, and my Robin Baby Blanket is actually living in my ink bags peekaboo bag. I love these bags. If you guys haven't checked out ink bags, definitely do. Her bags are super, super nice. I love the little ribbon drawstring that they have. Nice and soft and flexible, and of course, who doesn't love a peekaboo bag? So I am keeping this project in here, and I wanted it in the peekaboo bag because I love the yarn, I love the color. It makes me happy when I see it. And so it's kind of another way that you get inspired to work on your projects. So that is my ink bags, peekaboo bag, and my Robin Baby Blanket. Okay, my next project is probably my least exciting, but for me it's like my most enjoyable knitting project right now. This is actually called the Stash Busting Sweater. In previous episodes when I was talking about this, because I had gotten the pattern for this from a Knit Today magazine, and the pattern, it didn't really have a pattern name. It was called the Stripe-a-thon sweater, because in the actual pattern in the magazine, the sweater is striped. I chose to make it solid. But it didn't really have a definite name, and that may just be my oversight. But I have been informed that it is actually called the Stash Busting Sweater, and I love it. It's really fantastic. So this is knit in this. The pattern calls for several different colors of Cascade 220 yarn to create a really pretty striped oversized drop shoulder jumper, but I decided that I was going to knit this in all one color, so I'm using one of my all-time favorite 100% wool store-bought budget yarns by Patons, which is Patons Classic Wool Worsted, to do this in all one color. So this is the color that I'm knitting this in, and the reason why I chose this color was simply because I wanted a sweater that was like this in construction and like this in color in my wardrobe. Pretty simple, and that's a really excellent reason, I feel like, to knit something like this, because that's what's going to drive you to finish it. And I do have obviously other projects going on, so I mean, it's not flying off my needles, but honestly, what sweater flies off your needles, please? So anyway, it's called my stash busting sweater, and that's actually perfect because most of the yarn that I'm knitting for this, I did have to pick up a couple extra balls of this colorway, but all the other balls of the Patons Classic Wool Worsted were in my stash, so I'm getting to bust a bunch of stash yarn, so that's really great. So this is pretty much it. So far, this is the front. It's a basic, like I said, stockinette stitch, drop shoulder, oversized sweater. And I love the kind of the edging that's here. It's just a 2x2 ribbed edging, and it's knit on a super small needle. So this is a size 3, this is a size 8. So you get a nice tight edge here, which, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, is one of the things I really love about this, is that nice tight clean ribbed edge. I love working with this yarn. I love this classic color. The yarn, if you can see, it's really a nice rustic wool yarn, and I'm going to get it to focus here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It has that nice wool halo that you get from a rustic yarn like fisherman's wool. I really, really love it. It's not a superwash yarn. It doesn't have any nylon or anything like that in it. It's just 100% wool. So it's definitely super warm, super hardy. I love the way it feels in my hands. There's something about non-superwash worsted weight yarn that just sings to me, because it feels like the reasons we got into knitting in the first place was just that closeness to the earth feeling that you get from working with yarn that's made of 100% wool. So I don't know, I really love that. And that's why I chose the O Merino worsted base that I have in the shop, for that very same reason. Anyway, this is pretty much all I have. Now, like I said, I'm using, I should say, these new driftwood needles by Leica. Okay, you know what? We're gonna figure out how to pronounce this. Pulling out the computer. Oh wow, I get to hear it? I get to listen to it. All right, do it. Wait. Okay, you guys, I don't even know what he's saying. Somebody needs to give me like an actual, I don't know. I know it means happiness. Yika? Yika? Oh dear. Well, I apologize to anybody who is Norwegian, who knows how to pronounce that, speaks that language, for my butchering the pronunciation of that word. I've been calling it likey, but it sounds like Yika. Anyway, I'm going to try and learn how to pronounce this, but these are the needles that I'm using for this project, and I do really love them for this. The combination of yarn and this needle, it's nice and smooth, and it flies off the needles. It's really great. So this is the right needle for this project, in my opinion. So that's really great. I have been knitting this mostly in commute to various different places. Now, I don't commute. I work at home. I don't commute anywhere like you see some people in big cities commuting and having lots of that downtime to work on knitting. But whenever we go out to dinner, or if we go someplace in town, or if we go over to my parents' house, anytime that we're going somewhere, I grab this bag and this project, and this is what I'm working on, because it's such a pleasurable knit. It's all stockinette stitch, so it's just knit and purl, knit stitches on one side, purl stitches on the other side. It flies off my needles because it's that sweet spot, size 8 needle worsted weight yarn. It's just fantastic. And then I work on it at home too when I'm sitting around. But when I'm home and I have some more time to sit and I'm not moving in a car and it's not dark, if I'm knitting at night, I can work on the projects that require a little bit more attention to detail. But this one is just really great for the getting around town, sitting in the car while my husband's driving kind of thing. So that's one of the things I love about this, and I've actually done pretty well. I think the last time we spoke and I showed this, I think I was only like right here. So considering, I'm doing pretty well. I only have about 8 more inches to go. I just placed my project keeper, or excuse me, my progress keeper right here. So that doesn't really show much right now, but yeah, I really love this. So this is called the Stash Buster sweater. Super, super easy to knit. Definitely a really cool garment to have in your wardrobe. And that's another thing too that's really inspiring me knitting wise when it comes to what it is that I want to knit. I want to knit things that are functional. I want to knit things that are going to be worn, that are in my wardrobe, that I want in my wardrobe. I'm not jumping to a lot of really trendy knits right now. Definitely things that are chunky and warm and fun and relaxing, but functional at the same time. I do have some interest in knitting some dish towels, so maybe even things that are a little domestic, and that's what's speaking to me right now. That's what's inspiring me right now. So lots of slipper socks, mittens, baby blanket. I'm going to be knitting washcloths. The sweater is just a garment that I would really like to have. So yeah, functionality is key for me right now. It just kind of drives me, I guess, to knit. And I think it's really important to listen to that when it comes to the things that we want to knit, and to listen to what really speaks to us for whatever reason it speaks to us, and not necessarily to knit things just because they're trendy. And there's a place for that too. I mean, we all like the idea of getting involved in knit-alongs because we want to knit something that's trendy. But sometimes maybe that's just really not something you want to knit for yourself. Maybe it's just something you would find that you would only be knitting because it's trendy, and that's not, I guess, the right direction for me right now. So this is it for me. So things like this, and I'm totally okay with that. This project is actually living right now in my great-grandma's sewing bag. It either belonged to my grandma or my great-grandma. We haven't really determined whose it was first, but it's special regardless. My grandma, my dad's mom, is no longer with us, but I like to think that if she were looking down, she would be very pleased to see that I'm using this. But this is her, or her mom's, sewing bag, and I love it. It's just so special. It's definitely seen days of being more pristine, of course, considering its age. But considering its age, it's actually in excellent shape. So that is what my Stash Buster sweater is living in. Great handle for that grab and go knitting that I was talking about. It's just the tops, you guys. I love it. The next work in progress I have is another sweater that I casted on, another garment that I really would like in my wardrobe, a really classic, chunky, cabled gray cardigan. This is the Marylebone cardigan, and it is a cardigan put out by Brooklyn Tweed. It is designed by Bristol Ivy, and it's so beautiful. I just love looking at the picture on the pattern because it just makes me so excited to have this cardigan, because it's classic, it's beautiful. The yarn that I'm using is the Quarry by Brooklyn Tweed, and it's in the Moonstone colorway. So this is Moonstone by Brooklyn Tweed on the Quarry base, and I love it. It's beautiful. And then so far what I have, I can't remember exactly what I had last time I showed this, but I have made progress. Again, this isn't a daily knit for me. This isn't any time I'm sitting down knit for me. I'm picking it up probably once every 2 days. I pick this up and put in several rows on it. But I really love it. It's super enjoyable, and that's really all that matters. So here is what I have so far. This is the front, so you'll be able to see the cables that I've got so far. So this is one side, one edge, and let's see, it's a reverse stockinette stitch, and then you get to the back panel, and it has these really beautiful antler cables that go up the center of the back. Oh gosh, when this thing is blocked, it's going to be gorgeous. And then all along to the other side, some more reverse stockinette, and another little panel going up. This is where the button band will be attached, up the front of the cardigan there. So I'm doing pretty well. I think last time I showed this on the podcast, I don't think you could see any of the cable at that point. I had started that section, but you couldn't really see it developing. I hadn't made it that far. So I feel like I'm doing pretty well. I know that this is definitely going to be a sweater I wear next season. It'll take me into spring when it's far too warm to wear something like this. Maybe even early summer to finish this. And that's okay with me. That's a good timeline for something like this. No rush, no hurry. But I'm enjoying this a lot. I actually bought on Amazon, I'm collecting needles lately because, various different projects are requiring various different needles. I bought a new set of Addies. So I was using Knit Picks needles before, just part of my Knit Picks interchangeables. Not a really big fan of those for various different reasons, one being the snaggy join. So I decided, and also too, because I'm using this yarn, which tends to be a little grabby, I wanted something a little bit more slippery. So I decided to pick up a pair of Addies, Addie Turbos in the size that was necessary for the pattern. So that's what I'm using to knit this, is just a pair of Addie Turbos, and this is a size 10.5. And I love, for certain things, Addies are great. So I really love these for this because you get some tight stitches on there because you're cabling, so when you're knitting the back side of your cable panel, you kind of have something a little bit more slippery to help those stitches glide a little bit better. So this works out really well for me, and this is a really enjoyable knit. And another thing too, to speak about the pattern here, typically when you see a really heavily cabled garment pattern, or really anything that's heavily cabled, you think constant chart reading. Just, you're gonna have the chart in front of you the whole time. You can't be doing anything else. You can't be listening to anything, watching anything, what have you. This is really not like that. It's a really intuitive pattern. I find that I check my pattern when I sit down to start knitting this to kind of see which row I'm on, and then at that point I can go without looking at my pattern. I kind of know the natural progression that the cables are going to take, and there's a significant amount of reverse stockinette happening, so you do get a lot of that time where you're either just purling or just knitting. So it's really, really enjoyable. And the cable, it's a really easy cable. There's nothing complicated about that. So, and I cable with a cable needle only because I love the definition that you see in the cable when you use an actual cable needle, as opposed to knitting without a cable needle. So, and even considering that I'm using a separate needle to cable, it doesn't slow me down. So I'm really, really happy with this. So if you're looking for a chunky, classic looking cardigan that has a little bit of a whimsical vibe to it, because that's another thing I love about this, is it is classic, it is chunky, it is cabled, but because it's so over the top cabled in certain areas, it adds a little bit of whimsy to the garment, making it a little bit more special. So that's what I'm loving about this right now. So definitely something to check out if you're interested. This is living in my fringe field bag. And oh my gosh, you guys, have you been seeing like the different fringe field bags that have been coming out? There's a tartan bag right now and a camo bag. You guys, they are on fire over there. I want that tartan bag so badly. I put it on my Christmas wish list. We'll see. Who knows? You could just give me one of everything in the entire like fringe supply company shop, and I would be just super, super happy. So anyway, this is my fringe field bag. We've seen this. This is old news, but it doesn't make it any less amazing. So that is where my Marlebon cardigan is living for a little while, because eventually it's going to outgrow this, and we'll see. Maybe at that point I need to get one of those really big box waxed canvas bags that they sell. I'm not sure what they're called, but anyway, that is my Marlebon cardigan. Last but not least is a project I really haven't worked very much on because I've been focused on finishing this hat, finishing my cowl, and then working on these projects here. I got started on the baby blanket, so it was a little distracting, but this is another pair of family work socks. If you watched a couple episodes back, I talked about finishing off a pair of family work socks. This is a picture of them right here. These are amazing. I loved them so much. They fit my feet just like a boyfriend's sweater sock would fit. They're really, really loose and chunky and comfy. They're not too loose, but they're definitely borderline, but that's the way I think you're supposed to wear them, because it makes them super soft and cozy, perfect for wearing around the house. But I kind of decided that I wanted something that was the same sock, but I wanted it to fit a little bit more snugly. So because you're going to stretch these things, I knit them in 100% wool, so they are going to stretch a little bit. So I wanted to kind of get something a little bit more snug fitting for whatever reason, maybe so I could wear it under a big pair of boots, like Ugg boots or something, if you're outside and you're working in your dyeing studio and you're wrapping yarn and it's freezing and your feet start getting cold. Because this is happening to me now that it's starting to get cold in the garage, I could use something like that. Anyway, this is what I'm doing. So this is all I've got. I feel like last time I saw you guys, it wasn't much different. So this is everything I have so far for my next pair of family work socks. But now that I have off the needles, my cowl, my hat, this is going to be my go-to small project. I have lots of big projects going on over here, so this is going to be my go-to small project. And I'm planning to have these finished by Christmas because I'm going to be casting on a new small project on Christmas or Christmas Eve for my Christmas Eve cast on. And I would love to wear these on Christmas. And then that would make 3 chunky socks that I've knit in the last month that I can wear around Christmas time. So anyway, that's my family work socks. I'm using Patton's Classic Wool Worsted because, you guys, it's one of my favorites. What can I say? I love it so much for a nice budget yarn, and because it's the holidays, we're all budgeting and we're all busting our stash, and that's where this came from. So this is Patton's Classic Wool Worsted. I'm just using a cream color, that dark gray that I used in the sweater I showed, and then this is just a navy blue. And I'm pretty sure this is called dark gray, this is called cream, and this is called navy blue. Simple. So family work socks, definitely check out the family work socks pattern. It is put out on Yarnspiration's website. It is a Bernat design, I believe, but it's great if you would really love a fast gift knit for somebody who likes to wear cozy socks. This is really an excellent option for you for that. So definitely check it out, but I'm really happy with these. So that's all I have for works in progress today. The reason I'm not showing my Nolita sweater is because I picked it up not even a week ago. I picked it up to put some rows into it to kind of get it moving along the other day, and it's becoming really uncomfortable to work on it. Now that's a sweater that requires space, elbow space, because you have these giant needles, this big yarn that gets really heavy on the needles. You just need space. It's like you can't just sit in a cozy chair next to your hubby or your partner, whoever, and cozy up to them while you're working on your knitting project. It's like you need space to work on that. And that's definitely not something that's really comfortable for me to knit right now, especially because my belly is really growing. So when I sit down, I have to have a pillow propped behind my back. Comfort is just kind of becoming an issue. And so I was noticing that working on that was starting to put a little bit of strain on my back. It just wasn't very comfortable to sit in the position I needed to sit in to work on it. It probably sounds like I'm a huge baby, and I'm not. Well, maybe I am, but it's just not, it wasn't my cup of tea right now. And I really do want to finish it because I would love to try on that sweater. But then there's another part of me that's like, that thing would look so weird on me right now with my shape being the way it is, that I don't know if it's really something I'm looking to putting on right now. So next season, I will definitely have it finished by next season, and I'll feel a little bit better about wearing it next season. Plus, it's just not cold enough yet. Whatever, all the excuses, right? But needless to say, that's not a current work in progress. It's just on hold right now, with, several other works in progress that we all have on hold for various different reasons. But anyway, I'm really happy with the ones that I have going on right now. They're fun to knit. I look forward to sitting down with any one of those and cozying up and working on them. So by the next time I see you guys, I will have at least those socks finished, and I will have lots more progress on my baby blanket, so I'm really excited about that, plus the others as well. And I might even have casted on something new, so who knows? We'll see. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going to be in the upcoming shop update for Fiber for the People yarn on Tuesday, December 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Actually, before I tell you the yarn that's going to be in the shop, I want to update you guys. You're going to hear it here first on a new feature that I'm going to have in the shop, a new option for people that are looking to buy larger quantities of yarn. So there is now a new option to do a bulk special order. In the past, I did not do special orders. I did did not do dye to order, but I have adjusted that because I have received a lot of requests for particular colorways on particular bases, and I've had to essentially kind of use that to determine what I'm going to dye for my future updates, but I did never really incorporate special orders until just now, and because of the relatively large demand for this, I decided to make it an option for you guys when purchasing yarn. So from now on, you can actually choose to order a bulk supply of a single colorway on a single base at the shop. I'm calling this bulk orders, and you can find it by going to the shop, and up at the top in the menu bar you can see where it says bulk orders. You click on that and there's a very detailed list of how it works, what it is, and then there's an order form at the bottom. So if you're interested in something like that, that's where you would go. But let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about what that entails. So let's say that you want to knit a larger garment, such as a sweater or a shawl that requires a lot of yardage, and you want to use a colorway of Fiber for the People yarn, and you want to be able to guarantee that you can get the yardage that you need for your project. Because I am a small batch independent hand dyer, it's not always guaranteed that you're going to be able to snag as much yardage as you need on the base and in the colorway that you're looking for at any given update, because when those updates launch, things tend to go fast, and so it's kind of a crapshoot at that point for certain colorways, for many of the colorways in fact. And so I wanted to make it a little bit easier. So what you can do is you can order a minimum of 4 skeins of any colorway on any base that I offer in the shop. It's a minimum of 4 skeins, it has to be the same colorway, and it has to be on the same yarn base. I don't do dye to order single skeins, I don't do custom colors, nothing like that. It has to be colorways that are in circulation, it has to be on one of the yarn bases that I offer, and it has to be all the same for the 4 that you're ordering. So it's a minimum of 4, a maximum of 16. So you have a pretty big gap there of options depending on your needs. You also have to have an active PayPal account to do this, because that's how I do all of my invoicing, is directly through PayPal. So first step is to decide what it is that you're looking for, what base, what colorway. Then get in touch with me using the order form on the website by typing in all the information that's asked for, which gives me a detailed idea of what you're looking for. I get back to you with a quote for your order, and then if that sounds like something you'd like to do, I invoice you. You can add coupon codes if you have a coupon, and that can be applied to that as well. I include shipping for your order in your invoice and all of that right there, and then you pay via PayPal. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's a really great kind of new addition to the website, I think, because I'm happy to be able to offer that to people that are looking for more yardage of the same colorway on the same base, for people that are looking for maybe a sweater's quantity or something like that. So that is now an option to you. Please head over to the website to check out the bulk orders tab in the menu to learn a little bit more. I am going to be adding more information in the newsletter about this. The newsletter will be coming out, if today is Monday when I upload, the newsletter will be coming out tonight. If it has already come out and you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, go subscribe, and then it should send it to you right away. And if it doesn't send it to you for whatever reason, just contact me and I can send you a copy of the newsletter at that point. So do that, so that way you can stay in the loop about what's going to be going on with bulk orders, plus what other colorways are coming to the shop, and special promotions that I include only for newsletter subscribers. Okay, so we do have a couple returning colorways to the shop that I have to show you guys today. There is some yarn that I'm dyeing tomorrow, some solids that I'm dyeing tomorrow, but I don't have it on hand right now, so I'm only going to show you the colorways that I actually have dyed up right now. So we're going to start with Lights Through the Trees. This was a colorway that came in the last shop update, and it flew off the shelves. You guys really, really liked this colorway, and I'm so excited about that because I love it too. I'm really, really enjoying this colorway, so I'm very happy to bring it back to the shop. So this is called Lights Through the Trees. I'm going to have this on my all new DK weight 100% superwash New Zealand Polwarth base. Polwarth is a really, really beautiful, lustrous yarn. It's hardy, it's rustic, but it's got a nice, pleasant hand. It's just a really great all-around garment or accessory yarn, and it's a superwash, so it can be hand washed relatively vigorously. I guess you could say you are supposed to be able to machine wash it, which I don't recommend for any hand-dyed yarn, but it's a really, really beautiful, rustic, sturdy, fiber that I think you guys are gonna love. So this is Lights to the Trees on what I'm calling Vigor DK. So here it is here. I'm gonna hold it like this. It makes it a little bit easier to focus because then the camera's not searching for my face. But it's beautiful. I really, really am loving this so much. The combination of sage and this, you know, peach color that comes through here with the greens, the darker greens and the blacks, plus some of that red that comes through. It's really, really beautiful. And after I show you the other bases that I have for this colorway, I'm going to show you how it knits up because it's pretty spectacular. So that's Lights to the Trees on DK. We also have it on my 4-ply. This is a new base as well. This is a 4-ply 75-25 27 micron wool sock yarn. Now, this is called the Workhorse base. This base is going to be replacing my loft base for at least a little while, for kind of like a trial period, because I was looking for a sock yarn that was that 75-25 that so many of us love, but that was a little bit more hardy and would stand up to that heavy wear that we tend to put our socks through. And this is definitely just right for that. So this is called the Workhorse base, 75-25. It's a 27 micron wool, so it's not quite as fine as some of your more common merino. It is merino that you get in you know, hand-dyed yarn. It's got a little bit more of a rugged nature to it, but that's going to provide a more hardy rustic sock that holds up a little better to that heavy wear. And it's really a very beautiful yarn. It takes up the dye really, really well. It's got a nice soft hand considering, but I love it. So this is on the Workhorse base. So this is Lights to the Trees on the Workhorse base, and I'll get it up there so you can see it. It's really, really beautiful yarn. It's got a pretty halo too. So this is going to also be on my gilded base, which is a gold stellina base. It's a 2-ply, so it's pretty much Taylor's favorite with a little bit of gold stellina mixed in there. So it is 2-ply merino, superwash merino, nylon, and gold stellina yarn, and it's really beautiful with this colorway and with the gold stellina. I really hope that you can see it in there because, oh gosh, it's really stunning coming through on this colorway. I haven't had the gilded base for quite some time, so I brought it back for this update because I really wanted to incorporate it into this colorway plus a couple other colorways. So there is Lights to the Trees on the gilded base. And then we also have Lights Through the Trees on the new singles base. This is not replacing Twisty Singles. This is just an additional singles base that I am adding to the shop. Twisty Singles is a really great single ply base if you wanted to knit something a little bit more hard wearing, like a pair of socks, like a shawl that's going to be getting a lot of use. Because it has a really tight twist, it definitely is not susceptible to pilling. This particular single ply base is a very, very fine 19.5 micron wool, not a super tight twist. It's your classic single ply fingering weight yarn, very soft, very supple, but very delicate, and it's really perfect for lighter wearing items such as light wearing shawls, definitely not socks because they will pill. But yeah, so just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at this. This is called the Supple base, and it's a 100% superwash merino single ply wool, and I love it so much. And I love the way this colorway is translated on this base because it's so bright and cheery, and kind of an example of the variation. Here it is on my Workhorse base, which is 75-25, and then here it is on the Supple single ply base. Oh, you guys, it's so beautiful. And I do love the contrast and how the different bases take the dye jobs. It's really interesting. So there is the Supple base. And these are the bases that you will see in the shop for the most part. Taylor's favorite will also be in the shop. I don't have any Taylor's favorite that this colorway is going to be on, but other colorways you'll see on Taylor's favorite. I do have a few colorways that are on the gilded base, definitely the single ply, definitely the DK. There is another 4-ply 100% superwash merino coming called Whist, and I'm going to show that to you next. But overall, for Lights to the Trees, this is what we have. So we have DK, we have gilded, we have Workhorse, and then of course the single ply. Now I really want to show you how this knits up. Now I'm showing this to you on my 75-25 workhorse base. I couldn't help it. I grabbed a skein for myself because I love this colorway so much. And I don't have plans for a pair of socks, but I went ahead and started the cuff of a pair of socks just because I wanted to see the yarn worked up. So this isn't really an official work in progress. It'll be later at some other day. This is just me wanting to see how this yarn works up. So here is the cake of Lights Through the Trees, and this is, like I said, the workhorse 75-25 base. You can see it really lightens up when you cake it up, which is beautiful. And then this is what we have so far. And I really, you guys, I just started this morning because I was so excited to show you. And so I don't have a ton done, but it's so beautiful. Like, look at the way those colors are like communicated in the yarn. It's just so pretty and interesting. Ugh. I love looking at this so much. So this is Lights to the Trees. This is the way it knits up on the fingering weight yarn. I do have it on the bulky weight yarn in the shop right now. I'm not showing that right now, but it is in the shop on the 80-20 bulky base. It's single ply base as well. And then of course it's going to knit up a little bit differently on the fingering weight single ply, but this is just so beautiful, you guys. So I'm really obsessed with this colorway and can't wait to find some time to finish this pair of socks because I know it's going to be gorgeous. So that is Lights Through the Trees. Okay, the next colorway that I'm showing you guys is Tawdry. This is a returning colorway as well, but I haven't had this in the shop since maybe the second shop update since I opened my shop. This is a really beautiful wine kind of variegated color. I did make some changes to the colorway though, but I'm still calling it Tawdry because it's only the second time I've ever had this colorway, so it's kind of a little updated. It does have some black speckling going on that's very light and subtle, but adds a really pretty contrast. So this is Tawdry. Oh gosh, I love it. And then when I see it on the screen, it's just captivating. There's always a whole different experience to holding it in front of myself and then seeing it on the screen. This is on the gilded base. So this is the gold stellina base. You can see the black speckles running through that add a really, really fun contrast. Oh yeah, it's really gorgeous. I'm really obsessed with these winey, plummy aubergine colors. They're really speaking to me right now. So that is going to be called Tawdry, or it is called Tawdry, and it is going to be in the shop. I have it on the gold stellina base. I also have it on my Taylor's favorite base, which is right here. This is, like I said, my favorite base. I love the 2-ply twist in the yarn. It's just gorgeous. So there's Tawdry here. The speckles really shine through on this base here. I also have it on my 4-ply superwash merino fingering yarn, and this is a really nice fine 19.5 micron superwash merino yarn, 4-ply. There's no nylon in this, but it is really a very beautiful classic sock yarn. A little bit more light wearing than the workhorse, but still a really great all-around classic sock yarn. I love the variegated color in this. The light purple, the dark purple, the wine colors, the black speckles. It's really gorgeous. It'll make a really, really pretty fabric. So that is the Whist 4-ply 100% superwash merino base. We also have it on the workhorse base, which is 75-25, the one I showed before. This is a really fun kind of version of this colorway here. Lots of cool contrast. Beautiful. There's that. And then I have it on the DK base. So this is the 100% superwash New Zealand Polwarth DK. Big dumpling skeins. I love them. They're so soft and squishy. Again, that black is such a pretty contrast on this base here. Really beautiful. So there it is on DK. So this is called Tawdry, and this will be in the shop on these bases. So this is a new colorway coming to the shop, and I'm really excited about this color because it represents kind of this new direction that my dyeing inspiration is going in. I feel like the colorways that I've been inspired to dye lately are very earthy and rustic, and kind of suit the season, I guess you could say, and this is definitely one of those. So I'm really excited to bring this to the shop. This is on the Vigor DK base. This is at 100% Superwash Polwarth, and this is called Minky. And I named it that because as I was pulling it out of the soak, my mom, who was helping me, who is a huge help to me, mentioned, she said, this looks so minky. And I asked her what that meant. She says, you know, like a mink coat. And I'm like, yes, it does. So this is called Minky, and it has those really cool like mink coat colors going on in here. Plus I just love this, you know, hot brown color. It's really nice and warm, chocolatey color. It almost has a little bit of a purple, you know, going on in there. It's really beautiful. But the color variation that I see in the skein and the way that it's translated on this particular base especially, it's very beautiful. Perfect for garment knitting, but really for anything. So I really love this. So this is on the DK base. And then we have it on the 7525 Workhorse base is right here. So nice and, you know, lustrous. It has a really cool sheen to it on this base. Really beautiful. Then I also have it on the 4-ply 100% Superwash Merino base. This is a nice plump yarn, so it really plumps up nicely here, and I think that also contributes to how it's, you know, showing the colorway and the dye job. It's really beautiful. Oh gosh, and this yarn is so, I mean, they're all so squishy, but this one especially is really, really nice and squishy. So there it is on Whist. The base is called Whist. I apologize if I'm giving you the description of the base before I give you the name. They are new bases to the shop, and so I'm getting used to that. But this is called Whist. I also have it on the gilded base with that gold stellina, and it is beautiful. The gold stellina is very subtle on this colorway, but it really is beautiful. It really packs a really nice punch with the colorway, especially if you're looking at it in the sunshine. It's really pretty. I don't know if I can say that it's subtle and packs a punch at the same time. Maybe somebody out there knows what I'm talking about, but I don't know. It's just a really beautiful addition to this colorway. So that is the gilded base. I also have it on the singles base, and it looks especially minky on the single ply supple base. Yeah, it's like perfect. So here is the single ply base. This is called Supple, and yeah, look at that. Doesn't it look very minky and like kind of like a fur? I hate to say that, like fur pelt. It does. It looks kind of like, you know, a mink stole, I guess you could say, like what you would see color variation in like a mink stole. So this is called Minky. This is the single ply base, Supple, and it's beautiful on this base. I love it so much. So a really pretty, warm, wintry color, fall color even. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. So this is called Minky. It's going to be across all of these bases in the shop on Tuesday. Do you guys see the daylight that is pretty much gone from behind me here? I haven't been podcasting for all that long, but the sun is down, so there's like very little daylight behind me, so the lighting might be changing a little bit. Okay, returning to the shop by popular demand, and also because I love it so much, is Miss Harker. I'm going to have this colorway across 3 different bases: my Whist base, which is the 4-ply 100% Superwash Merino, my Taylor's Favorite, which is an 80/20 2-ply twist Superwash Merino nylon, and my Vigor DK base, which is the 100% Superwash New Zealand Polwarth. Those are the 3 bases this is going to be on. There is a lot of the Taylor's Favorite going into the shop, so I'm really excited about that. So a lot of Taylor's Favorite with this colorway will be in the shop. If you're looking to buy more than one skein, you have a pretty decent chance of doing that if you get to the shop right away and make your selection right away. Oh, also, while I'm speaking about that, I want you guys to know that let's say you make multiple orders before I'm able to send out your previous order, I will combine that and I will refund your shipping overages. So if you make an order because you want to make sure something doesn't fly off the shelf and sell out, and then you come back later and you make another order, I will combine those orders for you. Just let me know. Send me an email, let me know that you've done it, and I will do it gladly. So keep that in mind, because I know how this works. I know sometimes it can be kind of, you know, a crapshoot to get what you're looking for. So Just so you know, a little bit of a handy tip to have when you're doing shopping on update days at Fiber for the People. Okay, so this is Miss Harker. This is Miss Harker on my Taylor's Favorite base. Oh, you guys, it is a delicate, beautiful, speckled yarn on a really light, pale, peachy pink base. The speckles are subtle, but they're there, so they definitely have, you know, a contrast with the base of the yarn. It's so soft. I'm telling you, like, the yarn is all treated the same across all the colorways, but sometimes the colorways will make the yarn feel even softer. Oh, I love it so much. I can't even tell you. So this is Miss Harker on Taylor's Favorite. I will also have it on the new Vigor DK base, which is a lot of fun. I'm really excited about this base, and the way that the colorway looks on this base is really cool. So here is, let's see, there we go. So this is Miss Harker on the Vigor DK base. Just got a little stray. I love this, so squishy. Oh my gosh, look at that. Yeah, so that is beautiful. That is amazing. Oh, such a cool yarn, such a cool colorway. So there's that. And then we will have it also on the 4-ply Superwash Merino Whist base right here. There we go. Isn't that just beautiful? I mean, just look at that. So pretty. So that is Miss Harker. And there is a relatively big batch of this going into the shop. So definitely, if you're interested in this, come to the shop, check it out. The largest portion of this colorway is going to be on the Taylor's Favorite base, but you should be able to have a pretty easy time getting it on the other bases, but it is a super, super popular colorway, so you want to work fast. But that is Miss Harker. Okay, last of the variegated colorways is Wassail. Before I show you the colorway, I want to tell you a little bit about the name of this. Wassail is actually a term from, I'm not really 100% certain what century it is, but it's an English term from the past, and it's used to kind of refer to the jovial spirit around the holidays, and then it's also used to refer to those spiced mulled beverages that we drink around holiday time. And I was actually listening to an episode of What You Missed in History Class, which is a podcast and an audio podcast, and they were talking about holiday traditions from, you know, the past, and that was one of them, the wassail tradition. I loved mulled ciders and mulled beverages during the holiday time, and it was really interesting to learn a little bit about wassail. And so this colorway made me think of, you know, spiced mulled ciders, you know, holiday festivities, and I'm imagining that what you're thinking I'm about to hold up is going to be red and gold and green and who knows, all these Christmassy colors, and it's not, but for whatever reason, that's kind of what inspired the name. So this is the new colorway called Wassail, and it's beautiful. It's going to be across 4 different bases, and this first one, and this one has a lot more of this charcoal gray that's going on in here, which kind of made me think of, you know, the embers that are left in a fire after you have a fire in your fireplace around the holiday time. It sounds like I'm reaching, but just work with me here. So this is Wassail on Taylor's Favorite, and it is a combination of a really pretty kind of warm, I mean, it's pink, but it's almost, I don't know, I guess that looks like it's a rose pink color. It's really, really beautiful. Has some brown undertones to it. There's this charcoal gray speckling and streaking that's going on. We do have some chocolate brown speckles going on in there and some pumpkin colors, pumpkin spice colors running through it. It's really pretty special. I'm excited about this colorway a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I really, really love it. So it spoke to me, you know, in that whole festive way. It made me think of wintertime. It made me think of the black soot that comes from a fireplace in the winter. I don't know. That's just what it made me think, and that's the direction that I went with this. So this is called Wassail. This is on Taylor's Favorite, the 80/20 2-ply twist. I also have it on the Vigor DK. So this is the DK base, the 100% Superwash New Zealand Polwarth. Lots more of that spicy pumpkin color coming through here. Really, really beautiful. Get up into that. Look at that. Oh, so pretty. I also am going to have it on the 4-ply superwash merino, which is the whist base. So here it is on that base. Some speckles there, really pretty. And then I'm going to have it on the supple single ply base, and it's so beautiful on this base. I love it so much. Ugh, I just want to squish it all the time. So this is the supple base, 100% superwash merino, single ply, beautiful. I mean, look at that. There you have it, folks. So this is Wassail, and Wassail will be in the shop across 4 different bases, as you can see here on Tuesday for the update. Okay, last but not least are 2 Lucky Strike colors that will be coming to the shop. These do not have names yet. I will be naming them and putting them in the shop, so keep an eye out. Just look for the name of the colorway that has Lucky Strike written next to it. That's kind of how you know that it's a Lucky Strike. They are both on my single ply supple base only. And the first one, this, if you were paying attention in 2 updates ago when I did some fall tonal colors, I had a tonal colorway called Fog. This is really, really similar to that, but I did not get this colorway using the same technique. It just kind of turned out looking like that one. It's a really beautiful coffee stain brown color, but it's really, really faint, really light, kind of a cocoa color almost. Really very subtle. It's beautiful. I'm not calling it Fog because like I said, I didn't purposely make it look like that. So if any variations, I wouldn't want to lead somebody to believe that it's the same thing, but it's very, very close. So it's really beautiful, especially on this yarn base. Subtle browns running through, like I said, those cocoa coffee stain browns. You get that bare yarn kind of color, even though it's completely immersed in color here. So you're not seeing any true bare yarn color coming through, but it is very, very subtle. So that is the first Lucky Strike color that I have coming to the shop. The next one is again on the single ply supple base. No name for this one, but it's a beautiful pink. It's coming out much more pink on the screen. When you see it in photos, it will probably look far less pink than this. It almost has a little bit of a mauve kind of color to it. Let's see if I hold it with, say that it's mauve, but it's maybe not quite as pink as you're seeing it here. So there's that. So we have 2 unnamed Lucky Strikes that are going to be coming to the shop. Keep an eye out on Instagram because I will come up with names for these and I will post them on Instagram so you can kind of see there. So these 2 will also be in the shop. Lucky Strikes, like I've mentioned before, are complete one of a kind. It's a waste not, want not strategy that I use for dyeing up these colorways. If you want to know more, just head over to the site for the Fiber for the People shop at fiberforthepeopleyarn.com. Go to the blog in the menu and there is an article in there about how I get my Lucky Strikes. So that's what these are. So that is everything that is going to be coming to the shop for Tuesday's update that I have so far. I am dyeing up Mama's Lipstick. I'm dyeing up English Toffee. I'm dyeing up Going Out Jeans and Fawn Over Me, which is this colorway here for the O Merino worsted base only. And I'm also going to be dyeing up One Can Never Become Too Familiar with Vegetables, another colorway that I've had in the spring and summer months. I'm bringing that back because I do think that it has a little bit of a festive nature to it. Plus, it's just a really fun color. So that will also be coming to the shop. You can check for that in Tuesday's update. Do not forget to use the code WNHLOVE to receive 10% off your order as a Wool Needles Hands viewer. Also, if you would like to have a larger quantity of or yardage of yarn in a particular colorway on a particular base, check out the bulk order form, which you can find at the menu portion of the website up at the top. You can fill out a bulk order, it gets sent to me, and I'll get back to you within 24 hours with a quote and some more information on your order. So that's definitely an option for you. Also, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter so you can be in the loop when it comes to all the things that are going on at fiberforthepeopleyarn.com. Alright guys, that is all that I have time for today, but before I go, I wanted to remind you of a call to action that I have here at the Wool Needles Hands podcast. It is called the Local Yarn Store Call to Action. It is where I ask you, the viewers of the podcast, to go out into the wild where you are, find your local yarn store, go in there and get some footage of your local yarn store. Of course, ask for permission just in case they're not sure about that kind of thing. Let them know what you're doing it for. It's a good cause. It's bringing business to their shop potentially. But just get some footage, whether it be photographs, video. You don't have to worry about the sound. I will cover the sound with music, so you won't hear any sound, but you will see the video. I like to take this footage and add it to the end of the podcast to share with all of the viewers, all of the different local yarn stores and all the different places that we come from. It's just another way to kind of bring closer to home this vast knitting community that we're a part of. So definitely take advantage of that. You can send me your footage at woolneedleshands@gmail.com. I will add it either with your name or anonymously to the end of the podcast that I have upcoming. I actually have none right now, so I need some footage. So if you guys want to be a part of this, definitely take advantage. Get it sent to me. I would really, really appreciate it. All right, guys, I have officially lost all the light out my window. You can see that it is dark out there. It is, 4:45 in the afternoon, which is crazy. It's already dark outside. It's nuts. I am going to go now and have dinner with my family. I think we might go out and do something festive tonight. I'm not sure. But I know my little boy is awake. He just woke up from his nap, so I'm excited to get out there and see him. I wish you guys the merriest of Christmases, the happiest of holidays, because I will not see you until after that. I'm so blessed and fortunate to be able to do this and have a community that's been built around this, plus be an active part of this community. So I want to thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. And like I said, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy knitting. Keep posting all of your really great work that you're doing for the knit-alongs. I get so much out of seeing them every day. Get in touch with me if you have any questions. Until episode 19 of the Wool Needles Hands podcast. See you later.